Hey sis, hey, welcome to the Empower Her series. It's your girl Nana, and this is a show we educate to elevate, aspire to inspire.
Today's words reads, look at the birds. They don't plant or harvest or store fruits in barns, for your heavenly Father feeds them. And aren't you far more valuable to him than they are? Matthew 6:26.
Welcome back to another episode of the Empower Her series. Today I have with me Mr. Joe Danso, and our topic is all about personal finance. Now before we start, you know how we do. Mr. Joe Danso, if you were in an elevator with Mr. Ray Dalio, how would you introduce yourself?
Well, I would first tell him that, I am in the industry, one sector of the industry,
Okay.
and I would ask him, how did he get, what steps did he take to get to where he's at currently?
Okay. And then how would you introduce yourself to
I would introduce myself as someone who comes from a family that's not very big in finance, and throughout my journey in life, I developed a passion for finance, and I love finance.
Okay. All right, cool. That's what's up. Before we get into a topic, what we're gonna be doing today is playing cards. Now I don't know much about like playing cards, but we're gonna do a game called War, and that's basically like put a card down, and whoever has the highest number, you get the card. And just gonna keep going over and over again to see who wins.
Yeah, I like that.
So Joe, why do you think it's important to even like learn about personal finance? Like, why is it relevant to anybody to learn about it?
Because we're living in a world where everything is ruled by money. So if you don't learn it, you're just going to be in the bottom, and I don't think anybody wants to be in the bottom in life in anything, right? So that's why I think personal finance, or finance in general, is imperative for everyone. Like, everyone should be concerned about that. Everybody should learn about finance.
But the sad thing though, like I went to high school here, and personal finance wasn't really big taught like to kids. Like, I had like a financial class, but that was more of a like I guess
Math.
yeah, it wasn't telling me, oh, maybe should I get a credit card, should I not, how to write a check. Like, it didn't teach me any of that. So like personal finance to me was like, it's like a topic that I've never learned about until like my 4th year in college, honestly. Like, so if like he's saying he's into like the field of personal finance, he's saying that like personal finance is something everyone should definitely learn, and definitely like keep listening to this and get yourself educated about personal finance. Like, credit card, what is the deal with credit card? Like, is it good for you? Is it not good for you? Like, why and why not? Like, when I was growing up, they told me don't get a credit card, and then I'm hearing from my parents, get a credit card. The higher your credit card, the more you can buy things and get more. But then I also heard don't get credit card because it's just going to like keep you in the wheel of debt. Exactly. So like, speak more about that.
I'm going to answer because there's many sides to the questions that you're asking. So credit, in my opinion, credit is good. It's not bad.
Okay.
Because you live in a society where it's run by credit. If you look at the financial system, it's run by 3 things: run by cash and debt. So most people don't have cash. So you have to, like, if you're buying a home, most people don't have the total amount to buy the home. They need credit, right? So credit is something you definitely need credit if you live in this country, in most countries, to be honest with you, because everything is run by credit. The stock market has credit. Everything is a form of debt. That's the system that we're in. So once you understand the financial ecosystem, or whatever you want to call it, you will then understand that credit is a good thing. Now, the reason why one may say don't use credit is because a lot of the stuff that people tell you is based on your own personal experience. And that may be because they didn't understand how credit works and it didn't work out for them. So they're telling you based on their experience, but it's because they just didn't know how to use a credit card. You actually save more if you use credit card rather than using cash.
How?
or a debit card.
Because like with cash, you pay a friend. That's it. That's that. Like point blank.
Right.
But with a credit card, you have like interest, right? So it's like how you saving.
Because this is what people don't understand.
Okay.
You can use a credit card without paying any interest on it. It's just a matter of how quickly you're paying the credit. So I can use a credit card today, right? I swipe it, and within the next couple of days, I pay it off.
Okay.
I won't pay any interest at all. In fact, if you use there are certain credit card companies, most of them will give you cash back. Do you get cash back on debit cards or cash?
No.
No. So if I buy something from, say, one of these big box companies, I buy, say, television, and I get 4% back on what I just bought by using credit card, and you go and pay cash for it, you don't get anything back. I just got 5% of whatever I spent.
True.
And I didn't pay any interest.
Okay, so to avoid interest, that means you have to like pay in the next couple of days.
You have to pay it as soon as it posts. You need to pay it off.
Okay, cool.
So that's why. So for someone like me, now you understand that if you use it, you're actually benefiting from someone who's using cash. But if you're somebody that's not disciplined, then I wouldn't advise you to use a credit card because you're not going to pay it off.
Yeah,
right.
It's all about responsibility. Honestly.
But everybody needs to be responsible because you live in a system where credit is needed. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So I hope that answers your question.
It did, most definitely. Okay, I'm glad you are. So, like, in the topic of investments, like, how do you decide where to invest in, or who do you decide to invest in? What company? Like, what is investment? Like, talk all about investment for me.
So, when it comes to the topic of investment, I think it's very important for people to educate themselves in terms of, what kind of investment or what is their goal, right? There are many ways to invest. There are certain people that invest in companies that will pay them dividends, right? There's someone that will actually buy a share in a company. So whichever way you choose to go, which I think you should take advantage of all of them. I think for someone who wants to invest, first of all, you need to, educate yourself in terms of the type of financial products that are out there. Also educate yourself on how to invest, right? So if some of you guys have followed me, you've seen some of the videos that I've done on finance, so even for someone who even doesn't know anything about investing, you do your little research, and you can start looking into buying an entire market instead of going and picking one company or the other, because you limit your risk that way. So that's where you can look at things like indexes. You probably heard index funds. Usually this is like a group of companies. So when you buy that, you're buying the entire group of companies. So you can buy one index and let's use the S&P 500, for instance. That's the Standard & Poor's top 500 companies within this country. So instead of me saying I'm going to buy ABC company, right, and taking all my eggs into that basket, which is one company, I will buy the S&P 500, which contains 500 companies, top 500 companies in this country. So Walmart, Apple, all of these companies are under these 500 companies. And when you put your money there, you pretty much spread your money across all 500 companies. So for someone that's starting out, that will be my advice, like looking into spreading your risk money, because instead of one company, you have 500 companies. But most important thing is education. Educate yourself. The information is there. You can watch videos. Make sure you're reading and watching videos from valid people, not just your neighbor that wrote something on Google. That's the problem with this, with social media now, because everybody is now an expert. So make sure you get the information from, a good source, but the information is out there. If you're looking for it, you're going to find it.
So are there like steps to invest? Like what step one, you said educate yourself, step two, step three, like what other steps to invest?
Steps in terms of like, if you like, so in this generation, there's so many ways to invest. Like you've probably heard of Acorn, Stash. These are all apps that are pretty much automated. So for instance, with Acorn, you could buy, just say you go to the grocery store and buy apple, and it says $1.50. What Acorn will do is it will round that bill to say $2.50 go into an investment for you. So, I mean, in terms of really starting to invest, there are many ways to start, whether you have small amount or big amount, anybody can invest, right? But I think I'll really break it down when we go to what I'm known for, which is 4 steps of financial foundation. But really, I mean, education is really where you start. You start with education. You can reach out to someone like myself or others that you trust. You can call Vanguard. I mean, you have the resource. You call them, they will teach you exactly what you need to do to start.
All right, let's do one more. So while you were talking, you mentioned about like the 4 simple steps to financial foundation, and do you mind going like in depth about that? Like, what are the 4 steps?
Most definitely, yeah. So, so with our company, what we do is we focus on those 4 steps that I'm going to mention, which is protection, debt management, emergency fund, and then investments. All 4 can be done simultaneously. Now, the reason why we think these 4 steps are very crucial, that everyone should follow these 4 steps, is because it pretty much covers every area that you could possibly think of when it comes to finance. Protection, meaning, hedging against your risk. So for most of us, when you start out in life, you have a lot of liabilities. So you get out of college, you have the student loan, you have a car loan, you have a mortgage, credit card, the list goes on. So we have all these liabilities. So the 4 steps are basically saying the first step is to hedge against all those risks, right? Because one thing that we do know for sure is we're all going to what? Die, right? We just don't know when. So that we have to hedge against that. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is debt management. Before you even get into anything, you need to understand what's your financial habits. Like, what are your views on finance, right? Because we are our environment. If you come from a family that money isn't thought well or isn't understood, they will push those beliefs onto you, and as a result, you will act the same way. So before we even get into the investments and everything else, we need to make sure that mindset is changing, because pretty much it's all in here, right? And discipline. So which is also one thing that I'll talk about, right? So understanding and changing our financial habits and knowing what's going on financially with myself is the most important thing, because now I know, okay, I have credit card, I have this loan, I have that loan. This is the amount of money that I'm making. This is the amount of money that I'm spending. And you do this, you find all of this through budgeting, right? So in order to do anything, we need to understand what's going on with us financially. What is our financial status, right? Once we figure that out, now the goal is to minimize our liability, our spending, and increase our income. So if I do one job, I can start another side hustle to make more money. so I can move towards my financial goal, right? And then you have emergency, so emergency fund. In the financial industry, they say 3 to 6 months. I push it a step farther because everybody's different. I personally can do 3 to 6 months, and that's fine for me. But some people don't feel comfortable with just that amount as an emergency fund. Some may go as far as 12 months, which to me is a lot, but hey, I understand, right? But I don't think you should go beyond 12 months because you're just wasting money because of things like inflation, right? Cost of things will go up. Statistically, if you check, inflation is about 2.5 to 3, sometimes over 3. But in the last 30 years, it's average about 3%, which means in every 24 years, the price of things would double. So if you have money sitting in a place where it's not doing anything, just know that 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 will be worth half in 24 years. So if you feel comfortable having 12 months worth of your income or 6 months or whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable sitting in a place and knowing that 24 years is going to be half and you're okay with that, then that's fine, right? So that's emergency fund, having that in place. And then the last step is investments, understanding that now I'm in a good position to invest, put my money towards places where I get a higher return, right? And one thing that I'm going to tell you guys is if you want to beat taxes and inflation, you need to have 5% or more to beat taxes and inflation, right? So understanding that's why investment is also important. So these 4 steps that I mentioned, the most important one out of all of them is discipline, because without discipline, none of this will be possible. You will not be able to do it. So those are the four steps that everyone needs to take and be disciplined. But I also believe that, all 4 can be done simultaneously.
So just a recap, the 4 steps are protection,
debt management,
investments, and discipline. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's so simple. I can learn that. I can if I can do it, you can do it. If you can do it, you can do it.
Right.
Right. Okay, so before we end things, wrap things up, are there any last words you want to share, any last wisdom that you think should be out there?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. So one question that I hear a lot about the 4 steps of financial foundation is why should it go in that order, right? I've had a personal friend of mine ask me this over the phone about they think that emergency funds should come before debt management, and it really goes back to everything is ROI, right? What am I getting back? So if I have credit cards, loans with interest that are accumulating, and but I don't focus on that when I focus on having an emergency fund, while this is piling up, that emergency fund is going to go away, right? And then the most important part is the fact that even to find out that you need, say, emergency fund, even if let's say you want to do an emergency fund, how do you even know the amount that you need for emergency fund without going to debt management, without knowing which your financial status? You have to know your financial status in order to have an emergency fund.
Right.
So either way you look at it, you're going to go through that step before you get to having an emergency fund, right? So, that's one question that I've gone, over the years that I think I thought I should, say something about that. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, you guys, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in on this episode, and I hope you learned a lot, honestly, a lot about what Joe had to say, because he just gave you the golden ticket to personal finance. Honestly, everything he said, write it down, think about it, go educate yourself about this, because you do not want to be losing money. You want to be gaining money. You want to be saving money. You want to be financially free. You know what I'm saying? But also, if you like to be featured on my show and talk about any topic that you feel it should be in this series, then please talk to me and let's make it happen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Wednesday.